All right, here we are back again. Okay, so we're going to go over a little bit more about external sources of energy, and I'll give some easy ways or easier ways to access those. It can be a little intimidating if it's not something that just feels natural to you, right? And I don't know that if it would have or would not have for me, but I used to do that exercise with the trees and grass in the area like that, and to connect with them. And so it since I'd done that so long ago, it was less foreign to me than um, than it might be for somebody who's just starting out and hasn't had that span of time yet, right? And it may not be at all. I'm just saying it could be. Um, I think that we do this a lot and we don't realize it when we use well, mostly sigil openings, right? If you're gonna open sigils or seals, then you're pretty much doing that. It's We're going to be using those in a different way and for a different purpose. And I think that it would be, this is probably going to be a little less theory and a little bit more practical, right? Compared to last time. But when we open a sigil, we are accessing, you can have different opinions on what that source is. Is it the entity? Is the entity a conscious living thing, or is it just a part of your subconscious? I mean, there are a lot of theories, and this is probably one area where it almost doesn't matter. Um, now I can. I'm not saying that it has no bearing whatsoever, because but some of that is going to come down to the individual and what they personally believe. So when we open a sigil or a seal, you can look at it in those several ways that people think are happening. And that can just be you're accessing the energy of that entity. Um, if you think that they are currents of energy that can be harnessed and called upon, then you are calling upon that current. You're just not calling upon it in human form in this case, right? And if you think you're calling upon a part of yourself, then there really shouldn't be anything to argue with that, right? So I think the way that I'll approach this is a couple of different ways. And the first is using an existing one that's already been drawn versus drawing one yourself. And there are different ways of doing that. They can have different, slightly different outcomes, and that's kind of what I want to get at too. And since there are several options for all of that, then it kind of makes it hard to codify it a little bit. So we're just going to go ahead and talk about some of them, and then it'll just be not quite as clean cut as I would like it to be. But if we're talking about using an existing sigil from a book, right, you can trace it with your fingers to show it that has blue energy or white flame, or you'll find different descriptions of how some people talk about the energy type that you should see, and those people may think those correspondences have meaning, and they may or they may not. But that's really a different topic. I don't particularly care. If there's a color that I associate with that entity, then I would have no problems using that color, even if it doesn't agree with somebody else's supposed correspondence, right? So if we use a pre-drawn sigil, we would then trace that sigil, and you can visualize a flame of some sort or an energy. If there's a color that has meaning to you, you can use a color. White will work with anything. You trace it all around that spot, the whole thing, and then in the end, instead of the passive sigil opening that's normally done, where you wait for the lines to get wavy and things like that, instead we're going to send in the intent with that energy, and we're going to open it like a door. And if you think about it like a door or a gate, you're opening a gate, then it creates a different intent when that happens. And it may take some practice. So I would plan on practicing this. You can do it in your regular evocations if you'd like, or if your regular spirit work. But that intent of opening it like that is going to be important, and that's one thing that we're going to see again and again and again. Now the other part is where it isn't already on a page and we have to draw it, and in which case we would draw it and we would send in that intent with the ink. We're drawing on there, or pencil, or whatever you're using, chalk, blood, doesn't matter. You'll be sending in that intent. We're going to use that like a gate to access that energy. And we will access that energy. And the better relationship that you have with that entity, it stands to reason that you will probably have a better, I don't want to say you will, but you might have a better time with that energy. And it might come a little easier for you, but that would be more of a familiarity thing. Right? You are more used to that energy. It's not quite as foreign. There's not going to be as much resistance. A little bit different when you're dealing with an unknown sigil for an entity that you haven't spent any or a lot of time with. I would encourage you to use sigils that that you've used in the past successfully, that for entities that you have a history with. You can always call them for help. You can always call them to maybe open that gate a little wider. Some more comes. Now it doesn't mean that you're going to spring this thing open and it's just going to go everywhere, and your house is going to collapse and you're going to cave inside of yourself and go into a loony asylum. Nothing like that. It's going to be a subtle thing because we still have to do some other stuff with it. Now it can do that, but that doesn't mean it will do that. I don't expect it to do that. I add an additional process when I open mine, and I open my my portals the same way. So my long-standing, you could call them gates even, my long-standing portals and gates that I have open, I open them slightly differently than this, but the premise is the same. This is the premise. This is the way that I used to do it. So we have the two types. We have the pre-drawn, which we're going to trace, and then we have the one where we are drawing it out. And it doesn't matter if we're tracing over it in a book. It works the same way. It's okay. You don't have to know it front to back or anything like that. Now, normally I don't put my sigils in circles, but with something like this, I will. And I do that because I want to concentrate that energy into one specific area. Because if I just do it and expand it and make it huge, then I may not be as comfortable with gathering that energy quite as easily. It might impose a psychological load, actually. If you're only used to working with something small and all of a sudden it's big or it's more powerful than normal, they can kind of throw you off a little bit until you've experienced that a couple of times. So smaller can be better. It works just fine. Size is less important than the ability to use it properly. Not where I was going with that, but all right, sorry. I'll probably leave that in just for shits and giggles, right? But so smaller can be better. It reduces the cognitive load, and it makes the task look like a smaller task, even if it isn't. Because the real benefit to this will be opening it and then gathering it with our hands. But for right now, we're going to work on opening it. And for that, I'll probably put it on my chest again and demonstrate that way. So we're going to go ahead and change out the tripod, and then go from there.
All right, back again. Man, I really like those masks. But man, they're just so hot. There's no air in there. They're actually cloth masks, and I really like them. It's just they're like two little nose holes and a little mouth hole and two small holes for the eyes, and that just doesn't promote a whole lot of air. So I suppose you could tell me just to stop fucking whining, and that would be appropriate. But you know, then I can't drink my beer when I'm in a mask. All right, so we were talking about sigils and things like that. So let me just go ahead, and since I meant to do this before and got sidetracked, probably buy beer. All right. Damn it. Now I did check this pen and it's just not one to work right. But that'll be good enough. Okay. Ah, shit. But I better, you know what? We'll make it work. All right, let's roll. So we have one here. This is Leviathan Sigil. We'd use is from the DuCont system. And so we have one that's already pre-made. And as quick as I did that, while I could have put energy into it, that I know there are some people that are interested in my work that are like super clairvoyant, and it may affect how they view this. And so I didn't want to go ahead and put all that into there at once, as I was doing it quickly even. So we've got the sigil right here, and we've got something that pretends to be a circle on the outside. And so there's a little bit of visualization that you need done here, and it's a combination of visualization and intent that starts putting the energy that we all have into here. Now I'll need to make another video. It's actually about the spark part of Paley's grimoire. You can read about it in Paley's Fiery Dome. I don't suggest using your personal soul, if you will, your spark energy to this. Now what can you do? All right, well, I've got my little carousel going on right here, right? I can capture some of that heat and then visualize it going down to the ends of my fingers if I want to, right? But don't use your personal soul energy for this. The reason being is that it's easy, it's quick, but you don't have to use that. And if you don't know how to get some of that back, then it's a bit of a slippery slope, isn't it? So for now, you can do it a couple different ways. You can either try to pull it from heat, you can pull it from the sun, you can pull it with anything, or you can just straight up visualize it. All right. And some places will tell you which order to do the strokes in. Right. There are some of the Chinese systems do that. Like if you're doing all 28 strokes for the star symbol, God damn it. I can't think of the word, I'm sorry. But for the Big Dipper, right? They use the Big Dipper a lot. The 7 stars, but there are 28 strokes for that symbol, right? To represent the different stars in the system, all right? But they have a specific order that they want those strokes in. And it matters a little bit less here. Now, if you're told something different by a spirit, then I would encourage you to follow that until you feel it isn't necessary anymore. And you may never feel that, and that's fine. Okay? So I'm not trying to go against what everybody else is saying. I don't need to do it in any particular order. And I think magic's largely above. Getting better magic is largely above rising above systems, including this one, right? So anyways, a whole lot of words, and we haven't even really gotten started yet, so I apologize. All right. Now, if you want to, you can sit there and you can put it into a sword hand, right? And blow on it and then visualize like a white light coming from if you want to, or like this is Leviathan. If I want to use blue, you know, for the sea, or maybe green for the sea, whatever, do what you need to do. You can blow on it and then visualize the flame coming from it after that, after you blow on it, right? And then just do the strokes. And you want to see, and if you can, feel the energy going into those strokes, okay? If you just want to use a single finger, use a single finger. There's no point in getting all bent out of shape, okay? Okay. So we just sent energy into all these individual strokes here and into the circle. Now what are we going to do? Now what I would tell you to do it first. If you've been doing the plant exercise, you could probably put your hand over it and you'll feel that there's energy coming from it at this point, right? If you can't, and that's fine. Some people just aren't sensitive like that. It never will be, and that's okay. You can go ahead and put your hand on it so that there's a direct connection. And whether it's this far above, or directly on it, you want to think about it like, think about that seal, that sigil, like a bank vault almost, right? And then you want to feel it kind of in your hand, even if you're just making that up, it's okay. Eventually you won't be. And if it helps you, whichever way you want to do it, turn it to open it. Turn your hand like that to open it. You can turn your hand open like this to open it. And then you have to put that intent into it. Feel it, feel the energy on it, and then just open it up. And it'll turn into, like to me, it looks like you can see it shining up like this, right? And that means it's open. Now here, it's open because it's active, right? To do something with it is a little bit different. Excuse me, and we'll get to that. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and leave this open here because we're actually going to use a different sigil for this one for a specific reason. Okay. Now, this is one that we are going to do, and I hope the pen cooperates. The ink is not the energy, right? But it's our visual display of it here, okay? So instead, since I'm left-handed, right, when I draw this circle here, I'm sending the energy into that circle, all right? This whole thing I'm drawing, I know what I'm going to do with it. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to open it like I did this sigil of Lord Leviathan. So here, and if you forget or something, just trace back over it. No worries, not a big deal. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes it's better than others. All right, I heard that up, so let me go ahead and trace these over again. If I want to make it clear in my mind, even if I did it right the first time, I will just go ahead and I will redo it because it's not going to hurt me at all. All right, now we're going to close it. Okay. Now, when I open this, it doesn't matter to me which hand I use. Some people care, some people don't. I'm left-handed. I do some things with both hands. I shave better with my left than my right, right? I mean, it's the way that it goes, right? So I've got this open, right? And now I'm going to, for the sake of being the same, I'm going to open this up like it's a door. And I'm going to let that sit there. And this is for my Lord Marbus. Now, what can you do with something like this? You've got this open. What's a really good use case for doing something like this? Well, could be something like this. This is a pendant. Here, it's probably easier with the background on there, right? This is a pendant for Marbas. What a coincidence, right? I carry this in my wallet. I use it to help heal from daily things. So what I can do with this is I can set this on here, and this now gives me another way to have a pendant blessed or recharged that may have been already done so. Now you can call on them and ask them to do it. You can evoke them into it and ask them to do it, or you now have another way to do it where you can access that energy and put it into this pendant. And I can leave this sitting all night. Usually I would put an intent in for that, how long I want this to charge. Longer isn't necessarily better. Like when I have Pele charge things, it's generally understood that it's going to be just overnight. Like I have some tourmaline that I could do with obsidian too, but I have some tourmaline that Pele has blessed. And usually when I ask her to do that, I set it out. I call her, I ask her to do it. I set it out, and then I come back in the morning because it's understood that it'll be charged over the night. And usually it's charged by then. Half the time it's charged before I'm even done. I've already asked. I've already been set it down onto whatever opening or similar that I've used, whatever gate. And it's usually, it's not uncommon that it's done, but I still leave it there because that's how she had me do it. What, 4 or 5 years ago now? Man, it's really been that long, you know? So this is another way of doing it. You can open this up. Now if I were going to charge something with this, then I would prefer to do that, but I can still send that intent into this energized area, and it will do it for me. In fact, that's probably what I'll just do tonight. And then tomorrow, as a thanks to Lord Marbas, I'll blood it and then put this back in my wallet where it belongs. You can do that. Now this is stainless steel, which makes it pretty durable. I generally don't buy pendants for entities, just ones that if I want to carry their energy with me and I want something a little bit more permanent. Because I had a sigil of Belial's in my wallet for a long time. I blooded it. I stuck it in my wallet because I wanted Belial with me at that particular time. I knew it was going to be a while, but I knew it wasn't going to be like a really long while. Right? And so I just used a paper one that had been blooded and folded up for that purpose. But since I know I'm going to be talking with Lord Marbas quite a bit, especially as I get older, right? Then it makes a little bit more sense to get something more permanent. Now, I can't find my Leviathan one. It's driving me nuts. I have one for Leviathan, which is why I originally wanted to do his sigil. So, all right. So that's kind of what you can do with that. But there are other ways that this can be done. And we're going to go to, instead of one step, we're going to take 2 or 3 here. And for that, I'll actually use Leviathan sigil and my wand for Leviathan, which I'm going to stand up here and you can see it on my altar, and I'll go ahead and grab it and then demonstrate how I would use it with a wand, just right here. Because if you can do it right here on a flat here now thing like this, you can do it in the air too, and that's better for a different topic. But let's just go ahead and stand up here, and all right, so you can see my wand of Leviathan. I decided that was his when I saw the back of this and it looked like a sea creature, right? This is actually from that banyan tree. It's a deadfall from the banyan tree from the Pirates of the Caribbean at Turtle Bay on Oahu, Hawaii. So what would I do if I weren't using the paper, right? Well, I would literally draw it here or in the air, but sometimes it's easier to visualize when you're starting just with here. So if I'm going to use this wand, then I'm going to send my intent through this wand, which is already dedicated to Leviathan. Now, with the wand, I'll tap and stick onto that place, and I'll open it that way instead. And then I visualize it just opening up like light coming up from the bottom of a well or something like that. That's how I would open it. Now I can do other things for this, but that's how I would open the sigil, just in this manner. Now there's a whole lot that can be done with that, but I think that's probably going to be enough for this particular video, because it's a rabbit hole, right? It's a rabbit hole. So I guess I should probably talk about closing them like that, if that's the issue, since that could be. All right, so I opened this one here. So what I'll do is I can just go ahead and tap it and then visualize it falling into itself, right? And it'll close. Okay. Now this one, since I opened it with the door opening mechanism right there with my head, then what I'll do is I'll connect my hand back to this area, and then I'll close it like it's a door, and then send the intent and the image that it's been closed. And if you need to, just burn it afterwards. Okay. I mean, this all, since I used the sigil, I'll go ahead and blood this, because I have a really good and long-standing relationship with Leviathan. So I will do that just as a courtesy to him. For Marvis, I already said what I was going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and let that recharge tonight, and then I will do the same, essentially, as this tomorrow. I will close it. Now you can shrink it until it kind of like a black hole almost, until it sinks in and on itself and then closes itself. You can use whatever visualization you want, but if you're going to use the door opening thing, you probably want to do a similar thing, because it just kind of makes it more congruent in your head. So there we go. The next step, if you will, on your path to the energetic side of my practice. Hope you enjoyed it. There will absolutely be more to come. There's a whole lot more to do, but it's going to take it'll take years to get all this down, and you should expect that it should. Okay, this is not going to happen overnight. It's something that you can slowly add to an existing practice, which is why I suggest that you have an existing practice first, because otherwise you're going to be waiting for a very long time for really good results. And if people have a hard enough time waiting that long for regular magic that they can at least see and burn a candle for, and smell burning herbs for, then something that it's going to take you a while to see and feel and experience, it might be too much. So I encourage existing practices in adding this to them. Okay. All right, there you go. Happy Friday. At least it's Friday when I'm doing this. It might even be Friday when I upload this video. We'll see. That all depends on how well the video process works. So have a good weekend.